of Legends here. Going head-to-head. First pick ban going to be started up for game one.
That's right. These are the legal legends today, not the illegal legends. We don't talk about them. Ooh. Speaking of illegal, Nunu is not allowed on patch 8.17, which we're playing today. So we've zoomed forward from the 8.15 that we are playing on the regional qualifiers. So some changes, which we'll outline during the games. No changes on the bans, though. Is it 2016 or is it 2018? Either way, goodbye Sion from MVP.
You don't want to give that over to MVP. ADD and Max proving they can play it. More BattleComics fans here. Actually, a bunch of nicknames for all the different players here.
Awesome to see fans on both sides. And the final ban here on blue side. Notice this is our first blue side Aatrox ban in a while. That doesn't usually happen. And it seems like Lilac joining us in the studio. There's an OG man if there ever was one.
Yeah, interesting that he comes down for the last day of promotions.
On many different squads. Was even a CLG member a long, long time ago. We're talking 2010, before I imagine any of our viewers were watching competitive play. Look at this first pick on the blue side. First pick Kai'Sa. No Varus to answer it. And if you guys were watching yesterday, you remember that Karma, Kai'Sa, and friends jumped on the pilot bus, and 12 kills later and almost a casual, let's call it a pentakill because he killed Baron and 4 people. Later, it ended up being a comfortable victory for MVP.
I actually cannot believe that they didn't ban Kai'Sa.
Zyra Khan has been BattleComics norm. They pick a lot of Zyra Khan Rise in the first round. And with no Rakan ban, maybe they just feel good about the fact that they will win lane with Zyra Khan. For now, at least, they've got the Zyra. They're going to hold on to the Rakan for a moment. That could potentially give over Kalista Rakan, which will be a bit of a change from MVP. So I actually think they're going to leave Zyra Khan open.
They immediately take Braum and Sejuani. They had the Nautilus, actually, alongside the Kai'Sa yesterday. But today, just going with the more standard Braum. The Zyra Khan seems to be the case over on the right side. You'll also notice Olaf for On Fleek. That's his most played here in the promotion tournament, and definitely a good aggressive champ, and actually going to switch it up and go for the Morgana.
That's a very interesting movement, but not so much because of the pairing, but because it's back to Joker on Morgana. I believe this is his first non-Tahm Kench and Shen game, and this guy, who we've explained is the oldest player in the LCK currently, as he is older than Old Man Score, is a Morgana player of many years and of much respect. Whenever I ask Korean pros, what can you tell me about Joker? Apart from his age, they mentioned how good his Morgana was. So we've criticized some of his Tahm Kench play, especially. Let's see if the Morgana brings out the best of Joker.
Gonna take away that Ornn. That was a very highly contested pick yesterday. Ornn making his way back in. Very easy to make work. Very reliable, engaged. Going to take another pretty good engaged top laner. Lots of top laners, and Irelia going to be banned out here as the Mundo does follow up.
Solo lanes begging on both sides. We'll see where the counter pick comes in. Rise could be taken, but Dove has been looking over it compared to back in Challenger days. Let's see what the decision is here. If you want to take a safe top lane with Ornn taken away, notice Ornn and Sion are gone, which gives you some more of the engaged choices. Cho'Gath a strong laner, but not always the best when it comes to 5v5s. Gotta say, BattleComics 4 picks in compared to yesterday. No real engaged champion across the 4.
Waiting for the mid laner here. It's going to have to be a blind pick for Ian.
Would it be the El Clasico? This was, of course, the pick that propelled them to Rift Rivals in 2017 spring. Lots of Syndra at that time, and would we finally see it? We see it in EULCS. There's been so little Maokai, and here he is. They're just bringing back 2017 spring MVP.
Why not? Bring back what worked back in the day. Now we're curious, what is Dove going to bring in to the mid lane? Knows the matchup. Has a lot of different choices here. Has been playing a lot of Azir. The Lissandra also left available. What are they going to go for up against the Syndra pick? How about something aggressive?
Oh, baby.
Fizz, okay.
Fizz nerfed since patch 8.15. We never saw recently buffed super high AP numbers Fizz on the Rift in Korea, despite the fact that we had 8.15 for forever. But we moved to 8.17. The AP nerfs are there. But this is a fun skill matchup in the mid lane, and let's see how Ian does, because there's times that Ian is able to flex, and there's times that Ian looks like a mortal, so let's see how we do when he faces Dove, who's going to be hunting season in the mid lane onto the Syndra.
And you just know that On Fleek is going to be there. The one thing that really impressed me about On Fleek was we were talking about his jungle pathing is basically perfect. He loves to farm out really, really quickly, hits level 6 extremely fast, but also he always seems to be in the right place at the right time, you know, Tarzan score-esque. I wouldn't put him on that level just yet, but he's definitely got a good mind on him, a good jungle mind, I would say. So definitely a good sign for the side of BattleComics.
Risky choice of the Fizz when it comes to composition. We'll talk about that more later. But it seems like BattleComics are trying to find pressure points. They're trying to emulate what Damwon did to them. Damwon showed us the new, tried many different crazy things, and more often than not, they came off against BattleComics, who previously just wanted to play 4-1 team fight, get certain items, and win the team fight from there. Seems like BattleComics cribbing notes there. MVP going for such a standard pick comp. We're way back to their comfort zone here. The Maokai, the best illustration of this. It's been ages since a Maokai in Korea.
Can't remember the last time, but ADD wants to bring back all these weird picks as he does. This will be pretty nice against that Fizz. We'll see if he can lock him down here. The countdown has started. Let's jump into game number 1.
소환사의 협곡에 오신 것을 환영합니다.
That's an LCK chant if I ever heard one. BattleComics still working on theirs. No doubt we'll get one if they make it into LCK, but they got to make it through MVP first. Not an easy task. The one thing I'm beginning to realize after coming down here for the final match, right? It's for all the marbles. Either you go straight into Challenger or you stay or get into LCK. These fans that came out for both of these teams are actually very, very committed and desperate for the win. You see a lot of people holding their hands together, kind of praying for the idea. Got a bunch of people just screaming their heads off for their favorite team. And certainly there's going to be some broken hearts tonight as well as some joyous faces as we do get down to it towards the end.
Well, kind of the unmentioned thing about promotion tournaments is a big drop from LCK to Challenger in terms of basically every metric, right? Fan bases, amount of people that are paying attention to you, pay, all these things fall away when you're not at the highest level. But zooming in on this match, it's been that late invade top side and a potential lane swap here for MVP.
Yeah.
They have the ability to teleport down onto the Kai'Sa, and Cho'Gath says, all right, I need to leave this lane as fast as possible. Maybe went back to get a control ward, I guess. But he's just full-on recalled her Soar. Didn't get any income whatsoever. He's waiting. He doesn't want to dive. He doesn't want to get just wrap around ganked. But he doesn't 100% know where to go.
This is such a weird start to the game. I don't even know what's going on. The Cho'Gath's running it down mid right now. Trying to angle towards the bottom side of the map, but the bottom lane hasn't even left just yet.
Well, just remembered to lane swaps. He knows he's being lane swapped on. He knows he's going to have 0 CS forever. So he's basically saying, I need to go join the rest of my members' bot lane. I'm going to walk down to do it. How do you play a lane swap? A lot of teams forget, but Soar was there for the lane swap meta before, and now he's just following his jungler. He might pick up some jungle experience, but he's trying to be there for the turret dive.
What an interesting start to this one. MVP forcing this, essentially.
He can take Rupture, and then if they hit that, the turret dive should be clean.
Let's see if they can do it. Miss on the Rupture, and actually dodge on the Binding as well. Hollow not able to get on in there. This is perfectly handled by ADD. Actually, the first blood will go to the Xayah, but here's Pilot, and down will go on Fleek on the backside. 1 for 1. He handles the dive.
Sword tried to make the 2016 meta come back when it comes to these lane swaps, but the issue is the ramping damage on the turret is much higher than before, and Hollow basically gets one shot by the turret. In the end, the kill does go to Hollow, and it only ends up being one answering kill to the Maokai, but it's a lot of experience, I believe, going on to Maokai, who was already level 2 in ADD, with the lovely dodge going untargetable on the Binding.
Handled it perfectly. Flash the Rupture. You get right underneath that binding with your own Twisted Advance, and On Fleek just barely died to the minions.
Another change, of course, 70 armor and MR. When you go through and have the W, and the Aftershock proc was very relevant there at level 2, so
Yeah.
well handled by MVP. We end up with the same lanes and amusingly saw doubling the CS of the Maokai. But Maokai is already well on his way to a Catalyst, so a lot of crazy stuff already. But here's the Predator.
Zonfleek, he wants that flash here on Ian, gets the barrier too. That was definitely not necessary as it blocked 0 damage from the gank.
That was, oops, definitely a scaredy cat moment coming through from Ian, who's...
How about a return?
It's looking very possible. On Fleek doesn't play around too much, it seems. He loves to turret dive. Hasn't power farmed this game. The Sejuani and all the madness actually has a camp and a little bit advantage when it comes to the jungle numbers. Dove knows at the moment he hits level 6, he's got double summoners and a lot of kill pressure onto Ian.
That's going to be one scared Syndra. I wonder what he's going to go back and buy, but it's probably not going to be pretty regardless. Maybe just a Null Magic Mantle, try to stay alive in the lane, but you just have the Olaf return. I think it's going to be up to Yondu as well to try to help out the Syndra. Just hope that he does not get dove underneath that turret.
And you talk about that as an option, but it actually needs to be the reality, because you consider the team comps here. We're kind of alluding to this when the Fizz was locked in. Consider the Fizz in a team fight where he throws down the fish and worst case scenario, it gets stopped in its tracks by Braum and nothing happens. Best case scenario, one of these tanks is going to eat it up, right? It's Maokai, Sejuani, Braum. About the tankiest frontline we've seen in a very long while. Urgot looks at these guys as, man, I'm tanky, but I don't know if I'm this tanky. So we have an ultra tanky frontline, and that means Fizz very unlikely to do too much. Meanwhile, MVP, both their threats can push damage through a frontline with Scatter the Weak, and also the Kai'Sa being able to skip past the frontline. So I think front-to-back teamfights are basically auto-won by MVP if this is an even gold game from mid-game onwards. So camping mid, getting the Fizz fed, and starting a 1-3-1 is probably the only win condition, not the central win condition for BattleComics. Given that reality, make sure that Ian does not die before his summoners come back up.
Look at the items that he picked up, just Sork Boots. That's going to help to dodge the fish, but it's not going to give him much survivability. Yondu here on top of a ward, actually. Cho'Gath Soar will make his way down, secure that Scuttle Crab. Nice vision control so far by BattleComics on the top side of the river already. And yeah, this is it. I mean, Yondu's just going to have to sit around here and say, hopefully you don't gank my Syndra, because this is the obvious moment where they would like to get the kill.
And this is definitely the right thing for him. Basically, Yondu's job is to farm Raptors and Wolves and then come back mid lane. That's really what he needs to do. The only camps he can go to are the ones that are generally in the right direction. When barrier's back up, which is about another 15 seconds, he can be a bit more liberal with moving around the map. But given, again, how BattleComics have drafted, where they've really made it all about the Fizz snowballing or kind of losing from there, very important that Yondu just keeps on his primary objective of keeping the Syndra alive.
Yeah. You got a lot of stuff that would like to get to the squishy, soft underbelly of the MVP composition. The Olaf, you mentioned the Fizz, the Olaf, the Cho'Gath as well, trying to get on in there. Xayah's going to be hitting tanks in the front line. It's going to be really hard. We saw Xayah versus Kai'Sa yesterday. Didn't look very pretty once the game got really late. But we'll see if BattleComics can get this lead here. They can get it started. So far, things are very even across the board, even after that really wonky start we had in this game. Here it is. Fizz is going to miss. Still going to think about it here, though. The Predator is on, and, well, okay.
Dove actually altered for damage there, mostly. Trying to go in. I think you need to hit at least one spell to make that one work. The fish goes wide. The window is now snapped shut for a while. And by the time the fish is up, the flash might be up as well. It's bot lane.
Trying to flash on in there was Joker. Pilot gets extremely low. Yondu is over a ward, but he's level 6. Gonna try to land that ultimate, but it does go wide. The party prison in full effect for today.
You do forget that we are battling for 10th spot in the LCK today, so have to remember and adjust the expectations of skill shot accuracy accordingly. Bit of a mulligans, we would say. If we're playing golf, you get another shot. You only get one mulligan, though. MVP in BattleComics, I'm hoping for the level up on the next ultimate. So speaking of ultimates, Dub doesn't have his, but he's here anyway.
Max could be in a lot of trouble here. We don't have the fish ready for Dub just yet, but together they could do a ton of damage. Already the Ignite coming on in. Binding does land 2, but it does not matter. They're just going for this turret.
And getting the turret and accelerating the game may not be a solo kill in the mid lane, but it still plays to that win condition. Do notice that this is a shared gold bounty here. We're not able to give solo gold to anyone. I guess Dove is probably the person you'd go for over anybody else involved in the kill. Doesn't happen. They back away with the turret. We've seen BattleComics already attempt one macro play, and it kind of had egg on their faces trying to dive the Maokai when he was level 2. Let's see how they use a pre-10-minute turret and keep the game pace up.
Like the small roam on down there from ADD, and actually a pretty large wave was in the mid lane pushed in by Ian in the roam from Dove. So even though he picked up some of the farm, some of that turret gold, he did miss some of the XP and CS, the gold in the mid lane.
Hollow has mainlined his Stormrazor as the Berserker Greaves rush, going reckless style from Pilot, has of course slowed down that item. Hollow feeling pretty good about the amount of burst that he's going to have. BattleComics are actually returning bot lane. I imagine the Infernal Drake is what's keeping them on the bot side.
Look at all the pings right now on that Drake, right as you say. You can't even see what's in there or who's in there. There's a Morgana on top of it, trying to clear out the vision. That's what all the pings were about. No wards in the pit currently, but certainly On Fleek is ready to go. Gonna put it down. Take a look at all the vision here from BattleComics. There's 4 wards to the right side of Fizz. There's now a control ward on the Dragon as well. Basically, do not have an idea this is going on. They may just go for a trade, though, as they are going in for the Rift Herald is Yondu.
Definitely going to be a freebie Infernal, but just the fact that Yondu feels confident enough to start this lets you know that they think they're trading. So they're aware of the Drake being started, but no real way to answer it. Ian went Sock Boots and not defensive, so he actually has some threat. And MVP are here first, but Predator's props, they're not giving this one away for free.
How about double TP from the bottom lane? All of a sudden, Max and Pilot are here. BattleComics got to be real careful about getting in there. They do successfully reset the Rift Herald. Is going to restart up, though, as MVP with 5 members, they are desperately going for this Rift Herald. Would love the objective.
Do notice that most of the vision placed is bot side from BattleComics, so MVP are actually not playing around a weak area. Their information. Let's see if something can start this, though.
See, On Fleek is getting in position, has that smite available, wants to get in, is not going to get it as Yondu smites it away. The Maokai ultimate doing a nice job zoning everybody out, and they do hand that one over, looks like, to the Maokai in the top lane.
And you do see a preview of what the ARAM style fights will look like. No way in for BattleComics, no squishy member to throw the Fizz ultimate at an MVP in formation. Have the answer in 5v5 team fights. If BattleComics back away, you wouldn't expect them to be trading down at this point with Stormrazor, Kai'Sa, and already what felt like a nice tempo lead. But the high tempo plays are slowed down. Nice pickup for the side of MVP. And that's able to stabilize the game, which was a danger if the second turret rolled down, of snowballing too quickly for MVP to get their items together.
Hollow himself able to take this time and buy his own Berserker Greaves after that item. Still don't have any buy here from Pilot, actually. Went straight up to the top side with this TP, walked all the way down into the bottom lane. So he's going to be pretty far behind when it comes to dueling that Xayah. Looking for Joker here, but he does have that blasting plant to get out of dodge.
I think for sure he has the gold for Stormrazor at this point, but just can't back because trying to protect the red buff. That's a scenario where you back in vision on the minions coming in bot side, and then your jungler rages about his red buff being stolen, but at the highest level, back timings are a more coordinated thing, not so much about wanting that selfish pickup for yourself. Hollow's happy to wave clear in mid. This is a very good lane assignment for an AD carry versus Syndra, because Syndra ults and then Hollow ults and, well, doesn't care too much about the unleashed power. So there's not a lot of kill pressure from a Syndra onto a Xayah when the lane assignment is like this.
How about in the future we just get mid-Zaya instead of a Fizz? How does that sound? But I see what you're saying. I mean, the Fizz has his own ability to dodge that ultimate.
They got the double liftoff on the side of BattleComics, and
Yeah.
AD can also go untargetables. That's a lot of untargetable for one game.
Huh. The Olaf can't be stopped either. Not quite the same thing, but I was looking for something else, Papa.
The secret is, though, that often if you Syndra ults the Olaf, when he loses his resist, he just dies because you're not always super tanky on the Olaf. You usually go into more of the utility pickup, something like the Knight's Vow, or more commonly in this tournament, the Righteous Glory.
We're going to have it used here. It actually misses the knockup. Assumed that he would be on top of that, but does not get it.
That was actually a really tricky play. They were using the Rift Herald to bait Cho'Gath to interrupt it, and then Sejuani ults him for a kill and a turret anyway. They aren't able to get the kill because Sora gets out there, but that was coordinated, not just a straight-up mistake from the side of MVP.
Yeah, still a little bit disappointed that Sora missed, but hey, you can't get them all. Ian now in a little bit of trouble is going to be backed away from the turret, as BattleComics is going to respond in kind by everybody getting on in there. Binding does miss on the Ian, which means that doesn't unlock Dove to go aggressive, but hey, nice little trade there. Only unfortunate thing is that up in the top side, you're losing extra health.
Longer lanes aren't necessarily the worst for the side of BattleComics, because Fizz already is going to be far trumping Syndra in a long lane, and we got 2 long lanes now, top and mid lane. In fact, all 3 lanes, because at least 1 turret are down, have chase potential, and man, Fizz is good on the chase. Merc treads into the Protobelt. We were actually discussing the latest Korean solo queue trend right now, which is one that Crown will love to hear. Aftershock Lissandra is looking like a potential there. If you guys see this at Worlds, remember Papa sent you when it comes to the Aftershock Lissandra, because we know about the Aftershock Galio. For similar reasons, Aftershock Lissandra rustling the Protobelt is actually going to be an interesting choice at Worlds.
Definitely sounds really strong. I haven't seen it in effect, but just all those resistances right as you're on top, basically in melee range, as the Lissandra means that you lose some damage from the electrocute, but you have so much more survivability for those seconds. So
70 armor and MR and a little bit of burst from the Aftershock proc is a lot, and you proc it whenever you want it, because it turns out she has a whole lot of CC.
That's very true. Trying to go for their own push in the bottom side here is MVP. BattleComics respond in kind. 4-on-4 down on the bottom side. Ian trying to push the mid lane, but actually Soar with his TP up is getting a lot of value up in the top lane. Looking for that turret as ADD gonna start the zoning ultimate here. They really want this turret.
They don't have a lot of defending, as you can notice. There's no wave clear to speak about with these 3 champions. Olaf somehow the best wave clear champion. Soar at the same time pushing in, gonna draw a teleport out of Maokai. Not going to be the turret just yet.
Looks like actually more damage was done in the top lane by Soar. So interesting idea. You can tell what MVP are trying to do, but doesn't quite pay off.
Time to run out of people. This Fizz can kill. I see a stopwatch onto the Syndra. Sejuani, Maokai, and Braum are getting there. I guess Sejuani's maybe still killable. Kai'Sa's just not interested in being in the same lane as Fizz, so put all that together, need to stack up objectives, and while the second spawn Ocean isn't ideal, you need win conditions where you can get them, because we've already outlined a couple of times that most conventional ways that a game ends don't seem to suit BattleComics as the game goes on.
Yeah. MVP, we're definitely having Christmas early, Christmas in September, I guess you can call it, with the Kai'Sa not being banned, and they just lapped that up immediately. First pick. We're able to pick around it. Now they're looking for on fleek, gonna force out that ultimate essentially for free. So ADD was not spotted there.
Hollow was showing bot side, so a good time to engage and get something. Bit of a micro objective, getting away the Olaf ultimate, but you take what you can get when the cost is 0. Hollow's spotted on a ward, just trying to understand what's going on the bot side of the map. He only has limited information. Control ward and red ward is a start, but just spotting out what's going on. MVP re-invading for their red buff.
You were talking about securing a red buff. 4 people return to secure the red buff, as they're looking for a pick on the Hollow, who can actually be very slippery. You might even need 4 people if you want to get that kill. Doesn't end up staying. We're just here at 1-1 at about 18 minutes into the game. This isn't no BattleComics versus Damwon Gaming Game 3.
No.
That just never ended with the actions.
You know,
much more balanced.
I could do with a few more of those. That was really fun. Game number 3 there. That was, what, 41 kills in 34 minutes? Things that happen in China that never happen in Korea.
Yeah.
Now we have 2 Abyssal Mask top laners hitting each other. The fun never ends, Valdez.
Okay, TP is coming in as BattleComics actually looking for some kind of a flank onto the backside, but now it's actually ADD versus Soar here. The feast not available for Soar, but you got 2 other members coming on in, and it looks like they went a little bit too far. Do they have the damage to take out ADD? Absolutely, with the Olaf and the Fizz coming in, but the rest of MVP looking to join on up right now. TP is going to come in as the prison does land, but no follow-up from MVP.
Pilot could have ulted in, but it would have been a one-way trip and a 1-for-1, killing the Cho'Gath, who doesn't choose to pull the trigger. BattleComics in formation. The item's not complete yet for MVP. Nice moment for BattleComics.
Yeah, definitely a good one. The idea was there, but they didn't quite see the rest of BattleComics coming up the river, especially those 2 very dangerous members, the Fizz and the Olaf. They had no vision in the river at all, and they were chasing into a blind brush, so I would say definitely got to be a little bit more careful next time around.
Remember, this play was started by MVP, and you got to credit Soar. Again, if there's one thing this man can do, it's teleport and play tanks. He never uses his flash. So many people would have used their flash when they knew they were being flanked so far down the lane. He takes the comms, knows his team is coming, and never actually uses his summoner. Like we mentioned, Pilot could have gone in, but it would have been a one-way trip.
Yeah.
So he chose to hold on to his summoners and not go for the 1-for-1.
The interesting thing about that was I just said there was no vision in the river, but actually the Scuttle Crab was there and the Fizz walked over it. There were multiple pings that said, hey, Fizz is coming. I think they thought it was only Fizz, though, because the Olaf used the blasting plant and was out of vision. So they were only thinking about a 2v2 when, in fact, it was a 3v2. So nice sneaky moves there from On Fleek.
And again, BattleComics need to keep making these moves. They need to keep trading up because MVP finds 3 kills there. Maybe just compositionally wise, BattleComics throw up the white flag and say, okay, maybe game number 2. So every time they make the right play, every time we see a nice little move like Soar pulled off there, we need to compliment them. They've got that win condition. It's narrow but alive at the juncture of items we're at right now. Fizz has been holding on to Fiendish Codex and this stopwatch for a long while. Needs to jump in power, needs the one-shot potential if he does find that pick onto MVP.
We'll see what he does go for in terms of items. Does build into the Zhonya's. Could get it early, but maybe he's saying, hey, I want to use my stopwatch first before I go into that. Maybe then he'll go for the buy.
You'll probably need it every team fight, though, so I think Zhonya's second is fine in this game. Lichbane maybe afterwards for Dove. Kind of where my mind goes when it comes to Fizz builds. It's going to be the Black Cleaver build from Olaf. You might say then he's not going to be so tanky. If his tankiness becomes a problem, they probably already lost the game. So I'm a fan of the Black Cleaver.
I love the giant zoom out, by the way. We can see that BattleComics has just been owning in terms of vision the entire game. I've mentioned it maybe 2, 3, 4 times already. And the SPO TV Observer's on top of it, getting us the wide shot that show you exactly that. MVP really struggling to take any control of the map, and that's because BattleComics definitely have a lot more threats right now.
And the reason it's relevant is that BattleComics, after all this pressure, want to kite downwards, take another Infernal. That's the exact trait you're looking for if you're Team BattleComics after the second spawn Ocean. So right now, they control so much of the map. Consider, what does MVP really control? The minions pushed into the inner turret in mid lane, maybe the Krug camp, maybe the Gromp and Blue, but everything else is lit up or even control warded by the side of BattleComics. So this is very much going over any sort of midpoint saying, this is mine, this is mine, this is mine. Feels like some real imperialism by BattleComics.
They're taking the rift away from MVP. They're trying to take that LCK spot away from MVP as well. Definitely could happen here. I like the small amount of creeps that were handed over to On Fleek. Looks like he just barely had enough for that Black Cleaver finish, as you did mention. And now we have the timing. We could actually have a fight, as there's no way MVP want to give 2 Infernals away to Fizz, Xayah, Olaf. Definitely a scary thought. Going to be started up here. The side of BattleComics should have our first big 5-on-5 fight here if MVP do want to challenge, but actually, take a little bit of time. Joker in position. Trying to get on in there. It actually does reset. In goes the party prison. Is going to hit, but it was not going to matter. Joker a little bit out of position here. They're just going to trade the kill onto him. BattleComics pick up their second Infernal of the game in trade for only 1 kill.
MVP also have positioning on mid lane, and BattleComics wave clear is only Xayah. So this could actually be a mid lane turret. In that case, MVP actually get a pretty good trade. Able to force BattleComics completely out of position. Double Infernal does muddy the waters, but I still stay staunch in my belief that there is a timing where BattleComics just can't penetrate through the insanely tanky front line of MVP. So in the end, this is about as even a trade I think you can get, after all.
Good smite there by On Fleek. Secures it. Joker, not sure about the positioning. Maybe you land 1 binding, but you're a Morgana against a bunch of tanks that can jump on you with just 1 click, and a Kai'Sa who's immediately going to follow up. So got to be careful about not getting caught. Seems to be Joker's thing here in the promotion tournament, at least, getting caught.
Not really the thing you want people to remember you for.
No.
If he was to be eliminated during this match, I guess that would be, in fact, the storyline for him. Zonya's done for the Fizz, so all about a one-way trip, hopefully, to find either Ian or Pilot. Basically, the items don't really get any better relatively for BattleComics. They've got 2 items on most. MVP have some good items themselves, but this kind of has to be the time where you go for the Feast or Famine play. Notice that it is not a Banshee Veil second for Ian. I think in most games, that's where you would go. He's just interested in not dying to the Fizz and will actually go Zonias against BattleComics for the ability to drop that Fizz ultimate.
Definitely is the idea. If he doesn't have his team with him, he's dead anyway. Zonias are not. But if you're going 5v5, you're playing backline Syndra, and you only have to survive against one thing, the Zonias is going to be perfect. So, like the item choice. BattleComics would really like to get this game going a little bit faster. You know, maybe some more objectives on top of the 2 Infernals.
Easy objectives are mostly gone down, so to now, it probably has to be a Baron play, which I think MVP will find it a little bit easier to try to repel. Cho'Gath pushing in the bot side for BattleComics. There is some TP wards, you'll notice, around the blue buff area of MVP.
On Fleet, good read there. Knew that the Kai'Sa was around. And is still actually getting pretty aggressive in here, looking for a target with that Predator that did was just barely now coming off.
He's overstaying a little bit, trying to clear this control ward alone. Joker can walk up and give him a black shield. It's not going to be as big a point. They back away. They got some TP wards. Fizz starts chasing onto the minion wave. And now we're seeing a lot of people coming for ADD.
It's going to be that 2-on-1 onto Soar. We'll see if they can actually get it. You see, Soar is just unbelievably tanky. Pilot really doesn't have the items just yet to stick on to him for that long and doesn't want to overstay, lest BattleComics go directly for the Baron, and so they let him go.
While it's a 2-item Kai'Sa, remember that the majority of that was him stacking the Ginsu Rage. If he's able to pre-stack, he do a lot more damage in a short amount of time. By the time he had 6 stacks, the Cho'Gath was fully disengaged. So nice little escape there from Soar. BattleComics use this time to push up the minions, but not even going to get the inner turret. They've got a nice control ward triangle. Don't have one on the pit, don't have scuttle control, so MVP can still back away and not be as worried about Baron going down.
Yeah, if the scuttle wasn't there, 3 people backing right now, they could have maybe just rushed down the Baron. But probably if MVP didn't have that vision, 3 people wouldn't have been backing. So kind of chicken and the egg there. You see the scale of this is not that large. It only got to about 2,500 ahead for BattleComics and has now settled around a nice 2,000 gold lead, which isn't half bad for MVP nearing 30 minutes.
It's a sort of game where if MVP were throwing themselves into the action and BattleComics were getting advantage in that, we'd criticize MVP saying, you got the scaling, remember how you win this game, take it easy. I think MVP have taken it easy. I think they've been adequately respectful, which not always something you can say about MVP. That can be a bit too foolhardy in their aggression. So I think so far MVP should be very proud of the spot they find themselves in, but it feels bad as a pro player to see action and always kite back and always second guess. That's why scaling comps can be undone more often than not, because they just don't have confidence they're making the right moves, because your first thought is to kill, your first thought is to pillage, and that's not what MVP can do until later in the game.
They're happy to sit back, The one thing that BattleComics do have for a late game, I understand compositionally, obviously MVP is going to be very far ahead, but you take a look at the farm right now of Hollow. He hasn't really been the name we've been talking about on the side of BattleComics. It's been basically always Dove and On Fleek, but take a look at 340 CS, about 40 ahead right now of the Kaisa. Should be proud of that at least. Now looking for a play here onto Yondu. In goes the Fizz. They do have a nice amount of damage. There's the Beast straight in the face. Ian is going to have that Zonia's, and On Fleek getting super low, but has a stopwatch of his own. How deep do they go? The binding is there onto the Kaisa. They're going to be jumping on in for it, but a flash away might be enough. They're going so deep for these kills, and everybody's super low, but it is going to pay off in the end. 3 people go down, an extra kill to Pilot, but they still win the fight.
They do win the fight, Valdez. A super committal from both sides when they need to at 29 minutes into the game. They lose their smite, but they don't care. They want an inhibitor, and to make that next Baron even safer.
Thinking about the inhibitor, decide against it. Actually, Pilot and Max going for a greedy recall there. I think they should have backed. Maybe they could have saved the turret, but let's take another look at the fight.
BattleComics say their time is now, and I didn't even know they would get the kill here, but Sork gets the Rupture and the Feast, and while everything was set up for there to be not enough damage to the Unbreakable to pick up the kill, it still comes through, so nice play from Sor, who's been complimented again and again for his TP plays. Pilot gets 3 kills, and that could be consequential. Pilot walks up, as we see in the picture-in-picture. MVP now know that their job trying to defend the Baron is a taller task.
Pilot trying his hardest to carry this team right now. Picks up a 3rd kill on the back of that. So actually a nice chunk of gold just handed on over to Pilot in the end of the day. Does the most damage, was just shelling down On Fleek as he went super deep in that fight. And, I mean, now he's on, I think it's 3.5 items already, so you got that Kaisa nearly online, basically already there.
But you can't just copy-paste the Kaisa that went 12-2 and got a quadra kill and Baron into this game. There is no Ardent Sense of Karma. There is no Athene's Unholy Grail. There is only a Zeke's Convergence and a Knight's Vow on the side of MVP. So while he has a frontline, which is another way to ensure that a Kaisa can do damage in the late game, it's definitely not the previous compositions. There's a lot more conditionals about this Kaisa popping off.
Just used his stopwatch in the last fight too, so now this very important Baron fight could definitely go the way of BattleComics. If, again, that they can get into that backline. You were talking about Joker's Morgana. He hit the binding to lock down Pilot and nearly kill him. Keep in mind that he did not go down, but another good fight like that, a binding through the clouds, or, a Cho'Gath somehow is able to get into the backline. He does have his flash. Maybe, just maybe, they could take out the Kaisa and try to push to win.
And quietly, Sor is 100% kill participation, monstrously big. That's his 8th feast stack. He feasts on the 4th Drake of the game. Cloud Drake goes down. The Cho'Gath has already been on point with the TPs and is basically unkillable through the stone play. See if somehow the unsung hero is going to be the Cho'Gath here in this game. If anything like you mentioned happens, even a silence onto Pilot will be so big in a future fight.
We've seen that many times before. I believe that happened in the Gauntlet. Forget exactly which one that was. Actually, maybe it was Sword in the finals.
Yes.
His Cho'Gath silence to get Death's Jinx in the backline. I remember that. So
Game number 1.
yeah, it was a big Cho'Gath play. Sword definitely carrying a bit there and carrying a bit. But Sword trying to live up to his older brother Sword, I guess. It's kind of funny how those names sound similar. 2 big Cho'Gath players. We'll see what he can do as the game goes on.
I'm just really happy to see Sor asserting himself well. He was on the Sonic Boom squad in 2016 spring. That might have been the poorest performing team in the LCK era. They really, really struggled, and Sor never really showed much. Here is Sor, who's in that tricky spot, but Pilot's going to take a long while, as you can see, to do anything to him.
I'm like, what tricky spot? You mean the one where the Cho'Gath walks away? He does have a teleport, but look at the closest ward. Is nowhere near the Baron. They're going to start it up. This is double Infernal as well. Gonna have to get on in there with that killer instinct. Can they get in range? Joker zoning him out here. The smite is good. A little bit late, albeit, but they're gonna get that Baron. And now the quest is just to get out with the Baron. Thinking about turning it here. Duff looking into the back line. Pilot gets extremely low. And the Zonius does come out. Ian doing a job in the back line is going to take out one. Gets that Zaya. But in the end of the day, Soar finally makes his way in here. Dove still alive on this fight, and they do get another kill.
That was a really good play by Joker. Binding into ult just interrupts Yondu for an age.
Oh, okay.
Back is successful. Soar can't know how close he was to interrupting that back. Gonna watch the replay here. Look at Joker, who's on a ward to start. There's one over the wall, and he knows his job is, I'm just gonna stop you from moving. And I would say big success in that. The only thing that comes into the pit is the Glacial Prison, and it gets there after Baron is dead.
Take a look at Hollow's damage, just shredding through Max and ADD. Eventually he does go down, but got the Maokai at the last side, gets the 1-for-1. Joker did his job. Ian gets way back into the back line. And I love how BattleComics at some point halfway through the fight, they're like, wait, no, we can actually maybe take the fight here. So
I believe that was the 9th beast stack as well.
Yeah.
So the maximum size Cho'Gath is 1 stack away. Seeing Max and Pilot clear. BattleComics has done a really good job about making this not about a 5v5 where Fizz is basically useless. Instead, it's been about controlling the map, playing around terrain. That's how you get over a compositional disadvantage. You force the enemy to always fight on unequal footing. That has been really good from Team BattleComics. The Cho'Gath comes through. He's not quite popping his speakers like you can in this particular skin, but you know he's flexing in his own way.
he's a big boy, that he is, and now with that huge wave in the mid lane, they're going to be able to take out this inhibitor eventually. They're going to let the minions do it. A nice grab, actually, on the cannon. Might deny it here. It's not going to go down just yet. Syndra has her many uses.
Minute 20, and they do have only 4 members in the mid lane. See if MVP tries something, right? Score pop just to try to zone.
Yeah, not necessarily ready to go in just yet. Nice double stun there to Prison, though, into the front line. We've seen that before at the bottom of the LCK. Multiple Glacial Prisons into a Zac tank. I remember that was Sungwon, actually.
Yep.
Famous game. But either way, inhibitor does go down. And now BattleComics looking for a bit more. They only have 53 seconds left. Dove getting taken aback there just a little bit by ADD, but he is Fizz and able to get out of there just very safely.
MVP have the other ultimates. The cats have not been unleashed by ADD just yet. But ADD smartly went bot lane to match and bought a lot of time here. So there's still a chance it ends up being 2 inhibitors, but MVP probably made the right move. Try to disincentivize BattleComics. They're now pushing up anyway, though. Let's see what happens.
Sora is just a monster right now. Look at that health with the stone plate. Gonna take out that turret now, and the fish on top of ADD. He's tanky, but they have the damage. And look at the back line on Fleet going in, zoning everybody out at the same time. There's your second inhibitor on top of that kill. It looks like they want to take a little bit more with the Baron.
I think they might be able to end the game. Seems really tricky as the minion waves are delayed. They won't be able to do so, but BattleComics are living on a prayer here. Things are coming together. Some more further big item completions are coming in, and 4-item Kai'Sa is never getting enough time to activate Ginsu Rage, and certainly never getting close to killing this Cho'Gath.
Nobody's really gonna get close here. Just picking up more and more items as he goes, is nearing that 5th item. And let's take a look at how this happens again, the unkillable monster Cho'Gath.
So he's at 5,200 health or so, and then he presses Stone Plate and he's at 8,000, 9,000 health. Look at how big the damn Cho'Gath is. Insane at the start, and Maokai looks like a squishy bit of paper in comparison.
Yeah. There's a reason why Cho'Gath right now is a very, very common tank blind pick. In the top side, he can just get super fed and tank everything basically. How about 4 Drakes and a Elder Drake on top of the push that you already did just make with the double inhibitor? Doesn't look like MVP can do anything to get near the Drake. Gonna have to give this first Infernal away to BattleComics.
BattleComics Game 1 reminded me of Longzhu Gaming of 2017 summer, where they were criticized for only playing through their top lane carry and having a very thin win condition they return to again and again, a narrow win condition. BattleComics need to play this game a certain way, never drop vision, always play on the front foot, and they've done that. And the end result is, if you play to a narrow win condition, and never make a mistake. You win, Valdez. That's how it goes. We criticize it because it's risky, and they're a team that's playing in promotions. There's always the chance they make a mistake and fall away. But so far, it may not have been perfect, but it's been the perfect game BattleComics needed to always stay one step ahead of MVP. And now with a 11,000 gold lead and a 4-stack Elder, an extra huge amount, it's 24% AD and AP, they might just be able to blow through MVP and close the game.
That's the play here. The Maokai makes his way back to try to make the miraculous stop. Down about 10,000, 11,000 gold already is MVP. They're living on a prayer right now. We'll see what they can do. They can bring in the power of Bon Jovi and actually make it work. Turret under fire, about to be at least. Hollow very respectful. ADD actually nearly going down here to just Dove and on Fleek. The two carries together. They do it alone somehow, some way. And now with the Zhonya's actually double stopwatch there, it's going to bait out that damage. On Fleek is going to get low, but he has his own Guardian Angel. Dove getting on into the back line. Nice flash there from Pilot to dodge the damage, but Ian out of mana, and the rest of BattleComics looking to end the game here. Looks like they should be able to. The two turrets gonna go down. Big rupture. There's the Feather Storm as well. Huge AoE damage comes out of BattleComics. They're gonna win game number 1 with a huge bang. Very one-sided as they take the game.
What a great game from Team BattleComics. Soar still on fire at the end. NBA Jam style, he's on fire. He didn't need to shout it out as an announcer. Everyone could see it. Really impressive performance from Team BattleComics. They've won every game 1 they've played so far in this tournament. Won game 1 against Damwon Gaming before going down, but the manner they did and just how square they were around playing around a singular win condition was very, very impressive. Big shout out to Soar, who was easily the MVP of game number 1.
Really got to hand it to him. He created so much space for Dove and On Fleek to get on in there. Hollow, Loki also did a ton of damage in the back line. We were talking about how that super tanky front line he had to get fed to really do anything against it. But I guess BattleComics just got ahead far enough, and Hollow's farm at the end of that game was pretty insane. So even he was ripping through the tanks towards the end.
Feels like ADD might be calling for a first round Ornn rather than being left with the dregs of the tank champion pool, because the Maokai did not look impressive.
Did not work in game number 1. Let's see how it changes after a commercial break, jumping into game number 2.